Mark Zuckerberg's privacy is violated, Elon Musk's response goes viral. The buzz in Silicon Valley was electric. A typical day filled with new tech announcements, secretive projects, and the usual rivalries. But no one saw the storm that was about to unfold. In the world of billionaires and tech giants, drama often played out behind closed doors. That was until a highly confidential piece of information about none other than Mark Zuckerberg leaked onto the internet. It started with a small ripple, a blurry screenshot posted by an anonymous source on a tech forum. At first glance, it seemed like nothing more than another rumor about Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook. But upon closer inspection, it became clear that the document in question contained sensitive personal details about Zuckerberg himself. His private residence address, the names of his closest security personnel, and details of his encrypted communications were all laid bare for the world to see. The post quickly gained traction, spreading like wildfire across social media platforms. Within hours, it was trending everywhere. Zuckerberg's privacy breach. Is anyone really safe? At Meta headquarters, chaos erupted. Phones buzzed non-stop, lawyers drafted urgent cease and desist letters, and security teams scrambled to assess the damage. Mark Zuckerberg sat at the center of it all, his usually calm demeanor replaced by a deep scowl. His hands gripped his phone tightly as he scrolled through the endless stream of tweets and headlines. "This isn't just a leak," Mark said, his voice low and measured. "It's a full-scale invasion of privacy." His advisors nodded in agreement, but no one dared to speak. They had seen Mark in crisis mode before, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. Damage control was already in full swing, but the internet was relentless. Once information was out there, it was almost impossible to put it back in the bottle. And then, as if the situation couldn't get worse, he got involved. Elon Musk, known for his unpredictable social media presence and penchant for stirring the pot, Elon had a knack for turning any situation into a spectacle. He didn't just observe the chaos, he embraced it. His followers loved him for it. As the news about Zuckerberg's privacy breach spread, Elon couldn't resist the opportunity to weigh in. With a mischievous grin, he reached for his phone and composed a tweet that would send shockwaves across the internet. Irony can be pretty ironic sometimes. Wonder how Mark feels about privacy now. Thinking face #data matters. The tweet hit the internet like a lightning bolt. Within minutes, it was retweeted tens of thousands of times, spawning countless memes and reactions. The internet was ablaze with debates, jokes, and conspiracies. Some hailed Elon as a hero for calling out what they saw as hypocrisy. Others criticized him for adding fuel to the fire during a serious crisis. At Meta, the reaction was swift and furious. Elon Musk is turning this into a circus, one executive fumed. "We're trying to manage a crisis, and he's treating it like a game." Mark remained silent, his eyes fixed on his phone. He knew Elon well enough to understand that engaging in a public feud would only escalate things further. But the damage was already done. Elon's tweet had gone viral, and there was no stopping it. Meanwhile, in Palo Alto, Elon leaned back in his chair, watching the chaos unfold on his screen. He wasn't one for schadenfreude, at least not usually, but something about this situation struck a chord. He had spent years championing data privacy and warning about the dangers of centralized control over personal information. To him, this was the ultimate irony. Still, something nagged at the back of his mind. While it was easy to poke fun at the situation, there was a deeper issue at play. Privacy breaches weren't a joke, not even when they happened to someone like Mark Zuckerberg. Later that evening, Elon sat in his home office, scrolling through the latest news. His tweet was everywhere, but the tone of the conversation had shifted. What started as a light-hearted jab had turned into a broader debate about the state of privacy in the digital age. Some commentators praised Elon for highlighting the issue, others questioned whether it was ethical to mock a situation that was, at its core, a serious violation. Elon's expression grew thoughtful. He had never been one to back down from controversy, but he also believed in taking responsibility when it mattered. This was one of those moments. He tapped his fingers on the desk, deep in thought. Then, with renewed focus, he grabbed his phone and opened Twitter again. It was time for a different kind of response. Jokes aside, privacy matters for everyone. This isn't just a tech problem, It's a human rights issue. We should all do better. Working on something that might help. Stay tuned. #PrivacyForAll. The tone of this tweet was drastically different from the first, and the internet noticed. Within minutes, the new hashtag began trending. Conversations shifted once again, this time towards solutions, ideas, and calls for change. In the days that followed, Elon doubled down on his promise. He began reaching out to experts in data encryption and cybersecurity, brainstorming ways to make personal privacy more accessible and secure for the average person. He tweeted updates, shared concepts, and even hinted at a new product Tesla was developing, a revolutionary personal data protection device. The response was overwhelming. People around the world rallied behind the idea, inspired by Elon's vision for a future where privacy was no longer a luxury but a fundamental right. His new project became a movement, gaining support from tech leaders, activists, and everyday users alike. Even Mark Zuckerberg couldn't help but notice the shift. One afternoon, as he sat in his office reviewing the latest developments, he let out a weary chuckle. "Only Elon," he muttered, shaking his head. His advisors looked at him in confusion. "Maybe this whole thing was a blessing in disguise," Mark said. "If it gets people talking about privacy and pushing for real change, maybe it's worth it." For the first time since the breach, the tension in the room lifted. The news cycle didn't slow down. Elon's new hashtag #PrivacyForAll, was spreading like wildfire. Blogs, news outlets, and influencers latched onto the story, each one speculating about what Tesla was planning. The idea that a tech billionaire would lead a movement to protect personal data struck a nerve with the public, especially in an age where privacy felt more fragile than ever. At first, people thought it was just another one of Elon's ideas, bold but unlikely to become reality. Then, 2 days after his second tweet, everything changed. Elon posted a short video that sent shockwaves through the tech world. The video opened with Elon standing in front of a Tesla prototype, the sunlight casting a golden glow across the futuristic vehicle. His tone was calm but serious, a stark contrast to his usual playful demeanor. "Hey everyone," he began, "I've been thinking a lot about privacy over the past few days. This isn't just about one person's data being exposed, it's about all of us. We live in a world where privacy is constantly under threat, and it's time we take control of our own information. At Tesla, we've always believed in putting power back in people's hands. So, we've been working on something behind the scenes that I think you'll like. It's called the Tesla Privacy Shield, and it's designed to protect your personal data like never before." The video cut to sleek animations showing how the Tesla Privacy Shield would work, offering end-to-end encryption for everything from personal devices to smart home systems. Elon explained that it wasn't just for Tesla owners. It was a universal tool that anyone could use. Simple, affordable, and most importantly, impenetrable. The internet exploded. News channels ran the video on repeat, cybersecurity experts dissected every detail, and Twitter practically melted down with excitement. Tech enthusiasts called it a game changer, a potential revolution in personal privacy. But not everyone was thrilled. Over at Meta, Mark Zuckerberg and his team watched the video in stunned silence. The very breach that had caused them so much chaos had somehow turned into a massive PR win for Elon Musk. Worse, it positioned him as a global advocate for privacy, a mantle Meta had always struggled to claim. "This is a power move," one of Mark's advisors said, pacing nervously. "He's using this to redefine the conversation around privacy, and people are eating it up." Mark leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "He's smart," he admitted. "I'll give him that. But let's not pretend Tesla's perfect. Every company has its vulnerabilities." His advisors nodded, eager to jump into damage control mode. The strategy was clear: highlight Tesla's flaws and shift the focus back to Meta's own initiatives to protect user data. They scheduled interviews, sent out press releases, and prepared to push back hard. But Elon was always one step ahead. While Meta was scrambling to respond, Elon continued to build momentum. He followed up his announcement with live Q&A sessions on Twitter, answering questions directly from users and discussing the future of data protection. His transparency and openness won people over in droves. Is Tesla Privacy Shield going to be free? One user asked during the Q&A. We're aiming to make the basic version free for everyone, Elon replied. Because privacy should be a right, not a luxury. The response was met with overwhelming applause. It wasn't just a tech product anymore. It was a movement, and Elon Musk was leading the charge. Meanwhile, Alex from Portland, a cybersecurity researcher, couldn't help but feel inspired. He had always admired Elon's approach to solving big problems, but this felt personal. He had seen firsthand how breaches could ruin lives. Alex decided to reach out to Tesla, offering to contribute to the Privacy Shield project. He wasn't alone. Thousands of experts, engineers, and privacy advocates around the world volunteered their time and skills. Tesla's headquarters became a hive of activity. Teams worked around the clock, fueled by a shared sense of purpose. Clara, one of Tesla's top project managers, found herself in the center of it all. The excitement was palpable, and for the first time in a long while, the entire company felt united behind a mission that went beyond cars or rockets. This isn't just a product launch, Clara said during a team meeting. This is about changing the game for everyone. If we get this right, we can set a new standard for privacy. The stakes were high, but the momentum was unstoppable. Within weeks, Tesla announced the first beta version of the Privacy Shield. Early adopters raved about its sleek interface, ease of use, and airtight security features. The press dubbed it the Tesla of cybersecurity, and demand skyrocketed. The launch event was unlike anything the tech world had ever seen. Held at Tesla's massive outdoor campus, it drew a crowd of thousands, with millions more watching the livestream. Elon took the stage to roaring applause, his signature grin lighting up the giant screens behind him. I won't bore you with a long speech, he said, waving off the cheers. But I will say this, the future belongs to those who build it. And today, we're building a future where privacy is something you control, not something others control for you. The crowd erupted into applause as the giant screens lit up with the Privacy Shield's official launch. Fireworks exploded in the night sky, and a wave of energy swept through the audience. It was more than just a product unveiling, it was a moment of cultural significance, a turning point in how people thought about their digital lives. Watching from his office at Meta, Mark Zuckerberg couldn't help but feel a twinge of admiration. Elon had taken a crisis and turned it into an opportunity, not just for himself, but for everyone. It was a masterclass in turning the tables, and Mark knew it. A notification popped up on Mark's phone, a message from Elon. It was short and to the point. Had to have a little fun with you, Mark. But seriously, let's work together on this. Privacy is bigger than both of us. Mark smiled for the first time in days. Maybe, just maybe, there was something bigger to be gained from all of this. He typed a quick reply. Agreed. Let's talk. The world was watching as two of the biggest tech giants took a step closer to a surprising alliance. For years, they had been rivals, pioneers in different corners of the digital universe. But now, for the first time, it seemed like they might actually join forces for something bigger than competition. Mark Zuckerberg's response was subtle but powerful. Instead of launching a direct PR campaign against Tesla's Privacy Shield, Meta released a statement echoing the importance of personal privacy and hinting at a collaboration with other companies to create a universal privacy standard. It was a carefully worded olive branch, and the message was clear: they were willing to work with Elon. In the days that followed, high-level discussions began between Meta and Tesla's teams. The meetings were intense at times, but they were fueled by a shared understanding. This was a chance to change the world. Engineers and developers from both companies worked together on shared goals, combining Meta's deep understanding of social networks with Tesla's innovative hardware solutions. Elon Musk, never one to waste an opportunity, invited Mark to tour Tesla's Fremont factory. The visit was mostly private, but a few photos leaked online. Mark and Elon walking side by side through rows of robots assembling Tesla vehicles. The internet went into a frenzy, speculating about what this new alliance could mean for the future of tech. They're not fighting anymore, one commentator tweeted. They're about to build the future together. Public perception shifted quickly. What had started as a scandal turned into a symbol of hope. proof that even the most unlikely rivals could come together to solve real-world problems. And at the heart of it all was the idea that privacy wasn't just a product or a buzzword, it was a fundamental human right. Elon kept the momentum going. He announced that Tesla and Meta would be co-hosting a global privacy summit, inviting the brightest minds from around the world to discuss the future of data security. The event, scheduled to take place in San Francisco, promised to be unlike anything the tech world had ever seen. In the meantime, the first full release of the Tesla Privacy Shield was rolled out globally. It exceeded every expectation. Its sleek design and powerful encryption tools made it accessible to people of all backgrounds. Parents wanting to protect their children's devices, small business owners safeguarding sensitive client information, and even journalists operating in high-risk regions. Clara, now overseeing the Privacy Shield's global operations, watched in awe as adoption rates soared. Her inbox was flooded with messages from users thanking Tesla for making privacy protection simple and affordable. "This is why we do what we do," she told her team during a weekly meeting. "It's not about the headlines. It's about making a difference." One story in particular stood out. A young woman named Sophia, a journalist working in a politically unstable country, sent a heartfelt email to Tesla's support team. She wrote about how the Privacy Shield had saved her life by preventing government surveillance from tracking her communications. "Without this technology," Sophia wrote, "I don't know if I would be here today. Thank you for giving me the tools to protect myself and continue my work." The message quickly circulated among the team, reinforcing the importance of their mission. For Elon, it was a reminder that technology could be a force for good, a tool for empowerment rather than control. As the Global Privacy Summit approached, anticipation reached a fever pitch. Tickets sold out within hours, and the world's top journalists and tech analysts prepared to cover the event live. The summit promised not just discussions but real solutions, new ideas, collaborations, and commitments to protect personal data on a global scale. The opening night of the summit was electric. The massive auditorium was packed with tech leaders, activists, academics, and everyday citizens who cared deeply about the future of privacy. Giant screens displayed the event's slogan, "The future is private. Together we build it." Elon and Mark took the stage together, a sight no one thought they'd ever see. The audience rose to its feet, the applause thunderous and unrelenting. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment for history. Elon began with his trademark wit. "Well, I guess you never thought you'd see this," he said, gesturing toward Mark. "Neither did we." The crowd laughed, and even Mark cracked a smile. But seriously, Elon continued, his tone shifting. "The world has changed. Privacy isn't just a tech problem, it's a human problem. And the only way we solve it is by working together, across industries, borders, and ideologies." Mark nodded, taking the mic. "We've all made mistakes when it comes to protecting data. I won't pretend Meta has been perfect. But today isn't about the past, it's about building a future we can all be proud of. One where people control their information, not the other way around." The crowd erupted in applause once again. For the next 2 hours, the two leaders led panel discussions with cybersecurity experts, tech pioneers, and government officials. They debated ideas, proposed solutions, and, most importantly, committed to tangible steps toward better privacy protection. By the end of the summit, a new initiative was born, the Global Privacy Alliance, a coalition of tech companies, privacy advocates, and governments dedicated to creating international standards for data protection. It was an ambitious project, but one that felt achievable in that moment of unity. The press hailed the summit as a turning point in tech history. "A new era for privacy," read one headline. "Musk and Zuckerberg lead the way." For Elon, the journey had come full circle. What started as a playful jab had grown into something far greater than he ever imagined. And yet it felt right. One night, as he sat in his office scrolling through Twitter, a familiar notification popped up on his phone. It was a message from Mark. "You were right. Privacy matters more than we realized. Thanks for pushing us to be better." Elon chuckled and typed back, "We're just getting started." The impact of the Tesla Privacy Shield and the Global Privacy Alliance continued to grow in the months and years that followed. Data breaches became less frequent. Governments adopted stricter privacy regulations. And ordinary people felt empowered in ways they hadn't before. But beyond all the headlines, the story was about something deeper, a reminder that change often begins with a bold idea, an unexpected partnership, and the willingness to turn a crisis into an opportunity. And sometimes it even goes viral. Months after the summit, the Global Privacy Alliance, GPA, was gaining serious traction. It wasn't just an initiative on paper, it became a movement that brought together the biggest tech players, international organizations, and governments across the globe. The alliance's goal was simple yet revolutionary: create a set of universal privacy standards that every company and institution would be encouraged, if not required, to follow. In the early days, there was skepticism. Many wondered if this was just another PR stunt, something that would fade once the headlines moved on. But Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg were determined to prove otherwise. They personally attended the first few GPA strategy meetings, setting an example for others. This wasn't just a symbolic gesture. They were deeply involved, reviewing proposals, suggesting improvements, and holding their teams accountable. Elon's involvement was, as always, unconventional. During one meeting in San Francisco, he showed up wearing a t-shirt that read "Encrypt Everything" and proceeded to dismantle a prototype of a new data protection device right there on the conference table. "See," he said, holding up a small chip, "this is where the vulnerability lies. If we can secure this, we'll be miles ahead." The engineers in the room furiously scribbled notes, nodding in agreement. This was classic Elon, hands-on, disruptive, and always pushing boundaries. Mark, on the other hand, took a more methodical approach. He focused on policy and infrastructure, working closely with governments and regulators to ensure that the alliance's proposals weren't just technically sound but also legally enforceable. His experience running one of the world's largest social networks gave him unique insights into how to scale these solutions globally. Together, they were an unlikely but effective team. Elon's bold, visionary thinking paired perfectly with Mark's strategic precision. Their collaboration wasn't without its disagreements. There were heated debates and moments of tension, but those conflicts often led to breakthroughs. One of the most ambitious projects to come out of the alliance was the development of the Privacy First Protocol, a decentralized system that allowed users to control their personal data directly. Instead of relying on tech giants to safeguard information, individuals could store, encrypt, and share their data on their own terms. It was a game changer, offering a level of autonomy that had never been possible before. The launch of the Privacy First Protocol was a global event. Cities around the world lit up with digital displays promoting the new standard. Social media was flooded with hashtags like #MyDataMyRules and #PrivacyRevolution. Schools, universities, and even governments adopted the protocol, integrating it into their systems. For the first time in decades, people felt they had real control over their online identities. One evening, just a few weeks after the launch, Elon found himself scrolling through messages from users around the world. There were thousands, each one a personal story of how the Privacy First Protocol had made a difference. Parents protecting their children's online presence, activists using the protocol to communicate securely, and small business owners safeguarding customer information. One message in particular caught his eye. It was from an elderly man named Roberto in Argentina. "Mr. Musk, I never imagined that technology could make me feel safe again. After years of living in fear that my personal information was being used without my permission, I finally have peace of mind. Thank you for giving us this gift." Elon stared at the message for a long moment, his eyes softening. He had always believed in the power of technology to change lives, but seeing it happen on such a personal level was deeply moving. The success of the Privacy First Protocol inspired new collaborations. Companies that had once been fierce competitors began working together on shared solutions. Startups sprouted up around the world, building innovative products on top of the protocol. It wasn't just a tech movement, it was a cultural shift. Meanwhile, the media couldn't get enough of the story. Documentaries were made, chronicling the unlikely partnership between Elon and Mark. Journalists coined terms like the privacy revolution and the age of empowerment, capturing the essence of what was happening. But not everything was smooth sailing. There were challenges along the way, hackers trying to break the protocol, governments resistant to giving up control, and companies reluctant to adopt new standards. The road was long and filled with obstacles, but the movement's momentum never wavered. One afternoon, Elon and Mark met for coffee at a quiet cafe in Palo Alto. It was one of the few times they had sat down together without a packed schedule looming over them. They talked about everything: technology, family, and the crazy journey that had brought them to this point. "You know," Mark said, stirring his coffee, "if someone had told me a year ago that we'd be working together on a global privacy movement, I would have laughed them out of the room." Elon grinned. "Same here. But I've learned to embrace the unexpected. It's where the magic happens." Mark nodded thoughtfully. "We've still got a lot of work to do." "We always will," Elon replied. "But that's what makes it fun." The two men raised their coffee cups in a silent toast, a shared acknowledgement of how far they had come and the journey still ahead. In the months that followed, the Global Privacy Alliance continued to grow. More companies joined the initiative, governments introduced new privacy regulations based on the alliance's standards, and tech conferences around the world dedicated entire panels to discussing the future of data protection. But for the millions of people who had embraced the privacy-first protocol, the movement wasn't about policies or partnerships. It was about feeling seen, heard, and protected in a digital world that had once felt beyond their control. The story of how it all started, how a single breach and a viral tweet sparked a global revolution, became a modern legend. And in the middle of that legend were two men who had once been rivals, now working side by side to build something bigger than either of them could have imagined. One night, Elon sat at his desk, reflecting on everything that had happened. His phone buzzed with a notification,